President Biden holding his first phone call with Vladimir Putin yesterday. The president raising several issues, including the SolarWinds hack, the detention of opposition leader Alexei Navalny, and those reports of Russian bounties on American soldiers in Afghanistan. Here to talk about it is former ambassador to the UN and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Wonderful to have you here with us. So there's a new relationship, or a new start to a relationship between Biden and Putin, though they are not strangers to one another. Interested in how you think this relationship will develop, and do you think that Putin is under any pressure with these increasing protests over Navalny's arrest?
Well, good morning to both of you. You know, I can tell you Putin has to be pretty ecstatic right now. I mean, one of the things that bothered him the most was how energy independent we had become. And the idea that President Biden has already cut off the Keystone Pipeline, started banning fracking. That in itself is one thing. The fact that Biden is jumping back into the New START agreement, but not even jumping back in, doing it for 5 years, that's something that gave Russia a lot of advantage, and it never included China in it, which is something President Trump was trying to do. I mean, it's a good first week for Russia right now.
With regard to China, here's a headline, Wall Street Journal. Biden's opening salvo in Beijing. His administration's early moves were aggressive, but will it sustain the pressure? What is your sense about how he handles that relationship with China after 4 years of Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump being in a different gear toward the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, I think that President Biden needs to take advantage of the fact that Republicans and Democrats both agree that China is a problem. They are our #1 national security threat. And so what we need to do is have some serious conversations. Instead of just jumping back into the World Health Organization, why don't you have the Security Council hold a meeting on what China knew, when they knew it, about COVID, and why they didn't do something about it? You know, instead of allowing these businesses to start working with China products again, why don't you go and hold China accountable and say, we're not going to continue trading with you until you stop spying and stop stealing our intellectual property? I mean, there's some real leverage points that President Biden needs to be using. This is not just about Republicans saying no to everything Biden does. This is about us saying what he should be doing instead. And I think there's a lot of things. Why didn't you sit down and talk with those governors? I was a governor. Why didn't you talk to those governors before you stopped the Keystone Pipeline? Why didn't you talk to those governors before you banned fracking? Why aren't you using leverage? If Iran is producing nuclear weapons, why, before just jumping right back into the Iran deal, why aren't you using those sanctions as leverage? You know, with China, why aren't you calling them out on the human rights issues that they have instead of jumping back into the Human Rights Council? This is about strategy. This is about being smart. And what Biden's showing is he's more interested in reversing everything President Trump did than being strategic in how we keep America strong going forward.
You bring up the Human Rights Council, and I very much wanted to ask you about that, because when you were UN ambassador, you took action, and now there is a suggestion that the Biden team wants to rejoin the Human Rights Council. Do you think that would be a big mistake?
I mean, my advice to the Biden administration is don't do it. You know, we spent a whole year trying to negotiate with 193 countries on changing and reforming the Human Rights Council. Right now, you have every murderer, dictator, and thief on that council. If the United States gets back on it, you are giving credibility to a farce of a council that does nothing but hide human rights. If we are the country that has always fought for human rights, I did by having the first human rights meeting in the Security Council. If we really want to fight for those people who can't fight for themselves, get these criminals off the Human Rights Council. Don't join them and sit with them on a panel and discuss human rights. It's really embarrassing to do that. And after a year of negotiating, when they weren't willing to reform, why wouldn't you say you reform first and then the United States will rejoin? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing, Dana, with the Paris Climate Agreement. When we got out of that, why wouldn't you say we will rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement when China and India start to hold back on their emissions like the United States is being required
even the WHO.
Why do they get to wait 10 years? That's exactly right. There's no strategy here at all.
In the last minute we have left here, how much consideration have you given to politics with regard to a post-Trump world in the White House, the Republican Party itself, and your own future? It's a general question, but I think it's something that a lot of Republicans are considering now.
I have given a lot of thought to politics. I am going to be very political. but it's not in 2024, it's 2022. We have the House to win back. We have the Senate to win back. I would ask your viewers to go to standforamericapac.com and join us. We're getting to work now. We're going to win this House. We're going to win this Senate, and we're going to get our Republican Party back on track.
All right, well, we'll see. I saw Josh Hawley, senator from Missouri, yesterday said he's not running in 2024. So now more speculation is happening. Nikki Haley, thank you so much.
Hope you come back. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.